Hello, my name is Ola, and I'm going to be reacting to Sleepaway Camp 1983 Kill Count by Dead Meat. This was recommended to me by Maverick Ortiz. Yeah, Sleepaway Camp. It's a movie best known for, the big shocking twist at the end where the little girl turned out to be a boy and was also a serial killer. Like, what? Yeah, that's crazy. But also, yeah, the movie is pretty funny, yeah. And also very brutal. Yeah, let's see what James thinks about it. And if you want to like, comment, subscribe my channel, you can. If you don't want to, that's fine too. Here we go.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and I am so happy because today we're looking at Sleepaway Camp, one of my absolute all-time favorite horror movies. Released in 1983, the title and premise of Sleepaway Camp suggests that it'll be a Friday the 13th clone. And while two of the three sequels in the Sleepaway Camp series are more like the prototypical slasher, the original film is so much more. Written and directed by film student Robert Hiltzik, his one and only movie before he made the fourth one 20 years later, Sleepaway Camp is a cult classic mostly known for its infamous ending. But I'm actually upset that the ending overshadows the rest of the movie because it's straight up fucking bizarre right down to the goddamn bone. I'm gonna have a hard time not commenting on every weird ass scene and including every hilarious line delivery, like this one.
I believe there's a whole bag.
Or this one.
There's a bomb!
Alright, one more?
How the hell did that get there?
Okay, now one more.
It's you!
Nice. This is definitely one of those movies that you should go watch for yourself before watching the kill count. You should experience this masterpiece as unspoiled as possible. Sleepaway Camp works so well for me because it feels so damn authentic. The kids are actual kids, played by 12 to 17-year-olds, and they talk like real kids too, swearing almost as much as I do.
I'll kick your freaking ass all over this goddamn camp!
Add in random little things like a rooftop water balloon fight or Counselor Ronnie's way too short of shorts, and you get a truly unique movie that feels like it was filmed with a home video camera at an actual summer camp. Plus, it's got some respectable practical effects when it gets to the gory goodness. How many kills will we find at Camp Arawak? Let's sit around the campfire and count them up. The movie begins in fond memory of Mom, a doer. Did she have anything to do with this very dramatic title card? If so, props to Mom. I really enjoyed it. In fact, I'm a huge fan of all of Edward Billis's overly dramatic score for this movie. That's some epic shit right there. On a lake shared by the nearby Camp Arawak, a man named John Baker suntans his chest hair while his kids Peter and Angela argue over some bullshit. Such a relaxing day on the water for Dad. As long as those kids of his aren't little schemers. Oh, wait a minute. Oh no!
Oh no!
You little schemers!
Day ruined. That's okay. This dude Lenny is here saying that it's time for them to leave anyway. You'll get some more Lenny later, but there is some dispute over his exact relationship to the other characters, as hilariously explored when Sleepaway Camp was covered by the podcast How Did This Get Made?
Oh, you guys, so that was his wife? That was his wife?
No. Yes.
I highly suggest listening to that episode and watching the fun little animated clip I'm linking to here. Sharing the lake with the Bakers is a Camp Arawak lifeguard and his gal pal Mary Ann, who are currently busy screaming at each other over their motorboat engine.
You look like a steam hunchback! Straighten up, will ya?
I'm sorry, what was that?
You look like a...
You know what? Never mind. I'm not gonna be able to hear you. They're towing a teary-eyed water skier who wants to be done with this shit, especially when she sees that they're headed towards John Baker's flipped-over boat.
There's a bomb!
It's too late for them to turn out of the way, though, so we kick things off with 2 kills for the count. John Baker and one of his children. The other kid is left paddling in their life jacket while the witnesses scream and or exclaim breathlessly. 8 years later, a brightly dressed woman named Martha is sending her brash son Ricky and her demure niece Angela, the sole survivor of that boating accident, off to Camp Arawak. Angela is played by the then 13-year-old Felissa Rose, who has been nothing but an absolute sweetheart every time I've run into her. If you ever get the chance to meet her at a convention, I can't recommend it enough. She is truly fantastic. Also fantastic is the portrayal of Aunt Martha by actor Desiree Gould. Her bizarre acting choices make it feel like she's not only in a different movie, but on a different planet entirely.
We wouldn't want them to leave without us, now would we? No?
No, I'm afraid that wouldn't do.
Yeah, no wonder Ricky's eager to get away from his space case mom. But not before she gives both kids their physicals for camp.
Just be careful not to tell anyone how you got them. Oh, no, I'm afraid that they wouldn't approve of that at all. Even though they know that I am a doctor.
Lady, you're scaring us! A bunch of school buses unleash hordes of hyper children onto Camp Arawak, where they're yelled at by Counselor Ronnie, he of the muscles and short shorts, and camp owner Mel, who looks like he finances adult films during the off-season. Disgustingly enough, these actual children are also ogled at by head chef Artie.
Look at all that young, fresh chicken. Where I come from, we call them baldies.
Oh, what the fuck, dude? And what the fuck, fellow cook Ben? That shit ain't funny. Although I do have a fun fact to lighten the mood. That Ben guy is played by Robert Earl Jones, and his voice is pretty similar to
James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones. You know, friggin' Darth Vader / Mufasa.
They're too young to even understand what's on your mind.
Talk about the dark side. Ricky meets up with his camp friend Paul, who he introduces to his quiet cousin Angela, since it's her first time away from home since the boating accident. Paul's like, yeah, that's cool, before telling Ricky that another girl named Judy has recently developed, and now has jugs bigger than Annette's. Ricky goes and tries to holla at her, only to be given the cold shoulder. Ouch, you know that's gotta hurt, especially since they had been steadies the previous summer. Oh, those summer nights. Although Ricky loves it here, Angela has a much harder time adapting to camp life. She stares vacantly at Judy in the girls' cabin, she refuses to eat anything in the cafeteria, and 3 days in, she still hasn't said a word to anyone. This prompts Ronnie and his high-definition bulge to take Angela into the kitchen to look for something she might want to eat. To this day, I can't tell if Ronnie is just a clueless good guy or if he's purposely feeding Angela to the camp pedophile. But the end result is the same.
I hope not.
Angela's left alone in the kitchen with Artie, who immediately becomes the most disgusting human being you have ever seen. He's just about to rape this poor girl in the pantry when cousin Ricky walks in and interrupts him.
Hey, what are you doing? Keep your mouth shut, Jimmy. They didn't say nothing.
Jesus, first Artie attempts sexual assault, and now he's intimidating witnesses and beating up boxes? Is there nothing this monster won't do? Also, apparently there was no stunt coordinator for this movie, so Ricky's actor, Jonathan Tiersten, then 17 years old, got pretty banged up doing multiple takes for this scene.
I had rows on my back with redness. And, I just remember Robert saying, again. He's just snickering. And I'm like, oh my God.
It's weird. It seems like everyone else has very fond memories of making this movie, but something about Jonathan Tiersten's interviews felt a little sad to me. I hope you're doing all right, man. Later that day, Artie is trying to boil corn in the single largest pot I've ever seen when a first-person killer sneaks in and pulls his chair out from under his feet. The resulting fall leaves Artie covered in gnarly-looking burns from his fingers to his face. Those burns are almost as nasty as all the fly-filled sticky paper hanging in the kitchen. The practical effects in this film were done by Edward French, which was a delight for me to learn because I previously covered his work in another bizarre favorite of mine, Blood Rage. He even had a small part in that movie as the sugar daddy date who ended up decapitated. French used liquid gelatin to make the scalded skin effects here and pumped some air into them to create bubbling blisters. Very cool and very gross, but not quite a kill, since we last see Artie being taken to a medical facility. Because of that, I don't think the dude died. I'm assuming he lived on, his outside now matching his disgusting inner character. After Mel pays off Ben and the rest of the kitchen staff to keep quiet, lest the campers or their parents get worried, we get a pretty good stretch of random weird camp stuff. First is some inappropriate nerd hazing, complete with actual bare ass and a pretty funny butt slap sound effect. Hazing is never okay, kids, but that noise is pretty fucking hilarious. Let's see, we also get another camp counselor in questionable attire, this dude Gino in his crop top and cut-off jorts, that's pretty, something. And finally, we get one of the highlights of this movie, when Ricky's friends have a baseball game against a cabin of older boys. This sequence is one of my favorites, mostly because of how needlessly long it is. It has 2 separate dissolves showing us that a lot of time has passed. We don't need to see every play in this game, Sleepaway Camp. This is absurd. Thankfully, our patience is rewarded with the greatest exchange of insults I've ever heard in a movie.
This guy blows dead dogs. Just lay it in there.
Eat shit and die, Ricky.
Eat shit and live, Bill.
Eat shit and live, Bill. Eat shit and live. That night, there's a dance in the rec hall where Angela gets teased by these dudes Kenny and Mike after she fails to respond to their pickup lines.
Yo, Angela, how come you're so fucked up?
I love that Felissa Rose cites this as one of her favorite scenes she got to film.
They cracked me up. Yo, Angela, what's the matter? Yo, why are you so fucked up?
Lucky for Angela, cowboy cousin Ricky and his pal Paul are here to interfere on her behalf. And Ricky instigates the first of this movie's many boy piles, which, as the name implies, is just a big old pile of boys. When the boys are depiled, we get some Ricky rage.
I'm gonna beat your fucking asses in!
And the smarmiest middle finger I've ever seen. Holy shit, I fucking love this dude's face as he says fuck you. That's my favorite. Paul checks on Angela and gives a nice boy monologue where he says he's sorry about what happened to her family. His conversation upsets Judy, but entrances Angela, and by time he has to leave, he even gets a word out of her.
Good night.
Aw.
Good night.
Good night.
Chop Top, you're not allowed at Camp Arawak. Get out of here. Down by the lake, older camper Billy, the dude who was told to eat shit and live, gets very upset when he can't convince the girls to go skinny dipping.
The hell with you then.
It's okay, Billy. There's nothing stopping you and your friends from having a bare butt aquatic boy pile. I know it's the name of that podcast I recommended, but seriously, how did this get made? That Kenny dude, who was teasing Angela at the dance, takes a canoe out with a girl. But of course, he's a dick about it and ends up flipping it over. After she swims away, he decides to get underneath the boat by himself, where he really digs the acoustics.
Hey, you.
Get off of my cloud! A head pops up, and the unseen figure shoves Kenny's head beneath the water. And the next morning, after the camp's lifeguard has an aneurysm over the mess left in his lake,
These peckerheads suck!
he notices something.
How the hell did I get there?
Underneath that upturned boat is the body of Kenny, which, yeah, is pretty obviously fake. Even Ed French can admit to that.
That effect was slightly cursed. When he came in for the life cast that day, I think he was a little nervous. The life cast was a little compromised.
French did what he could to fix it, and honestly, it doesn't bug me that much, since the life cast allowed them to have that snake coming out of the mouth, and I think that's a great touch. Kenny is taken away in a body bag, and Mel is left insisting that his death was just an accident to a mustachioed cop named Frank. Remember Frank's mustache, alright? Specifically, how real it is. You're gonna miss that realness. Although Ronnie is unsettled by this second accident, camp life continues, meaning Judy is free to keep playing volleyball in a shirt that has her own name on it. Also, if you'll allow me a moment of internet supervisor pride, one of my mods, Jordan, did the best cosplay ever as Judy, and actually got a picture with Felissa Rose at Texas Frightmare. Great friggin' work, Jordan. I love it. Angela sits out of the volleyball game, but opens up like a chatterbox when Paul sits down and starts flirting with her again. That gets Judy jealous, and it also annoys the girls' counselor Meg, who tells Paul to go on and get. Although she's a counselor in charge of the younger campers, Meg is a mean girl who's allied herself with Judy because she is definitely not a Fangela. That night, after a movie in the rec hall, Angela and Paul have advanced to hand-holding, but when Paul tries to move on to face-kissing, Angela shuts down again. Yeah, when she responds like that, buddy, maybe don't go ahead and try to steal another one. Little lesson for you. If you can even hear me underneath all those pillows and that boy pile on up now, boys. The next day, Angela puts it behind her and is cute and giggly with Paul again, but that just gets her in trouble with Meg, who shakes her like a rag doll, and yelled at by Judy, who's jealous that Paul seems to fancy her. Judy makes fun of Angela for being underdeveloped with a line that has stuck with me ever since I heard it as a kid.
She's a real carpenter's dream. The light is a board and needs a screw.
I actually have She's a Real Carpenter's Dream signed by Judy's actress, Karen Fields, on this curling iron back here, courtesy of Karen's daughter, Izzy. I met Karen and Izzy filming my first ever event video at Monsterpalooza back in 2017. Karen was one of my first ever interviews. She's very nice in person and had a blast playing such a mean character.
I just felt at ease, like I could just be as nasty as I wanted to be, you know, and not think that that was a bad thing to be, because it's fun to be nasty.
Thanks so much for the curling iron, Karen and Izzy. Oh, and if you're wondering why it's a curling iron, you'll find out later.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that curling iron death. Oh, God. No. Karen Field. I wonder if she's any way related to Sally Field. Probably not. Probably just a coincidence, you know, or just happen to have the same name. Yeah. But it's like, yeah, like most actors that, you know, like they're best known for playing heroes, they have said that, like, oh, they like to play the bad guy more because, you know, it's fun, you know, because when you're the good guy, you have to be all serious, you know. most of the time. But when you're the bad guy, you get to go just off the walls crazy, just laugh, dance around, go crazy, Yeah, that, again, back to that curling iron thing. Oh, God, that stuck with me ever since I first saw that. Like, I never looked at a curling iron the same way again, man, after seeing that.
It's a curling iron? You'll find out later. Angela leaves her cabin and walks outside, passing some kids having a rooftop water balloon fight like that's a normal fucking thing to do. Head bully Billy and the other kids he's with turn their balloons against Angela, but don't worry, cause aw shit, Adidas coming. As Paul tends to Angela, cousin Ricky runs out and delivers another profane diatribe to the bullies.
I'll kick your freaking asses over this goddamn camp, you fuck!
Although an improvised rant like that one got actor Jonathan Tiersten the role during auditions, here it gets Ricky in just as much trouble with Mel as Billy and the Balloon Boys. Later on, Billy hangs back from a baseball game for personal reasons.
I gotta take a wicked dump first, so I'll see you guys down there, right?
Reading material in hand, he commences with his wicked dump, not knowing that an unseen figure has locked him inside the stall with a broomstick. And so Billy is trapped behind a locked door when a beehive is put inside the bathroom with him. Not sure why he didn't just escape underneath the door, because if he had, he might not have gotten Nicolas caged with a bunch of bees. Oh man, more gross skin effects courtesy of Edward French. Dude is killing it with this nasty shit. Puns intended if you want to. After this third accident/murder, almost all of the campers have left Camp Arawak. In fact, Ronnie says that only 25 kids remain, causing Mel to deliver an incensed monologue about his #1 suspect, Ricky.
I've known all along, I've seen the hate in his eyes, but I never did anything. Now I'll stop him for what he's done to me. I'll stop him!
Even though there might be a killer out there, Paul and Angela are still meeting up after dark and kissing each other on the beach. Careful, Paul, she's a schemer.
Wait till I get my hands on you.
Haha, got him on you little schemer. But Paul once again presses past Angela's comfort limit.
Come on, Angela. I'm not doing anything.
Clearly you are, buddy. She said no, knock it off. Angela is apparently triggered into a flashback of her and her sibling as kids giggling at their dad in bed with that Lenny dude from the scene in the beginning. This comes out of nowhere nearly an hour into the movie, but yeah, now this is a thing. Is it homophobic? Is it just kids giggling at something they don't understand? I don't know. I also don't really know the full meaning of this weird shot that ends the flashback. Why are you pointing so hard, little boy? Angela yells no and runs away from Paul the date rapist, and the next day, the camp's remaining campers engage in a group game of grab ass, or capture the flag, I guess. Looks a lot like grab ass to me. Paul continues pressing his luck with and body against a clearly uncomfortable Angela, and after she rebuffs him, Judy swoops in for that reboundy. Their makeout sesh is discovered by Angela, and if that wasn't bad enough for our quiet protagonist, she then gets accosted at the lake by Meg, who lifts Angela up so she can throw her into the water. Ricky tries to intervene, but gets stopped by Mel, who accuses him of killing the other kids.
I saw you those times. In a rec room at the water fight, you killed them.
And so, with Ricky preoccupied, Angela is tossed into the lake. And even after Ricky and the lifeguard help her out, she's laughed at by Judy and Meg and gets sand thrown at her by some little kids.
Fuckers!
Stupid little kids. They'll pay for that.
You won't let them get away with this, that's for sure.
See, Ricky will make sure of it. In another of this movie's instances of sexual predation, camp owner Mel makes a date with his surely underage counselor Meg for later that night. Gross. Thanks to a long line in the girls' cabin bathroom, Meg ends up showering in an empty neighboring cabin, which is the perfect place for a killer to come in and end Meg's insufferable shower humming.
Shut up, Meg.
That's not even a real song, Meg. Meg gets stabbed in the back with a knife through the aluminum shower wall and is killed when the unseen assailant carves her up and slits her back open. But hey, at least this mystery murderer knows to always keep their tools clean and to preserve water. No need to put Mother Earth on the kill count, right? Paul tries talking to Angela after that evening's social event at the rec hall, and when he refuses to leave her alone again, she finally capitulates to his whining.
Meet me at the waterfront after the social.
Good job, Paul. You successfully successfully wore her down. Hope you're happy. One person who isn't happy is Mel, since his child date hasn't shown up for the dinner they planned. He ends up looking in the empty cabin, where her body inexplicably falls towards him, sporting a simple wound made out of wax, courtesy of Ed French. The body's trajectory doesn't make any sense, since it suddenly falls against the shower curtain there, but it does lead to an absolutely incredible monologue by Mel.
Oh my God. Love you, Meg. He did this to get back at me. I had him, Meg. I had him. I let him go. I'll stop him. Gotta stop him.
Fuck yes. Give me that "not you, Meg" one more time.
Not you, Meg.
I love it. Judy winds up alone in her cabin, curling her hair before
here
bed
it
when
is.
she's intruded upon by a silhouetted figure. Oh shit, that's clearly Jonathan Tiersten who plays Ricky. I don't think this movie was meant to be seen in HD, because Jonathan Tiersten is only standing in here as a red herring. It is not supposed to be this clear to us that it's just Ricky in a wig.
Who is that?
Yeah, we're supposed to be more like Judy and not know who it is. The quote-unquote unknown figure approaches Judy and knocks her out with a punch, and the mean girl is then killed in a horrendous but thankfully off-screen way after the killer grabs her curling iron and puts a pillow over her face. The shadows on the wall tell us everything we need to know, as does the resulting scream. But in case you need it spelled out for you, Felissa Rose is here to explain what happened.
Sticking that curling iron up that bitch's vagina.
Damn, that is brutal. And it manages to be a memorably gruesome kill, even though it was done off screen. While all this other stuff was going on, there was also a small side plot featuring a counselor named Eddie as he led a group of younger kids out on a camping trip. After a couple of them complain about how cold it is, Eddie agrees to take them back to the cabins, reluctantly leaving the others behind on their own. If only he knew that first-person killers were native to this area, he might not have had to come back later to find 4 little bodies hacked up in their sleeping bags. These kills are kind of confusing, but they're meant to be 4 of the little shits that threw sand at Angela back when she got thrown into the lake. Regardless, it's effective enough to make Eddie throw up. Yeah, dude, it's safe to say your camp counseling days are over. Ricky gets abducted by Mel, who yells at him for killing Meg and even slaps the kid to the ground. He pounds on Ricky a whole bunch before he's moved into another monologue.
I got him. Just like I promised, Meg. I got him.
Mel up and decides that he needs to get away, but during his escape, he's stopped on the archery range by another unseen figure, who kills him quickly with a simple arrow to the neck. This effect has always impressed me, and I finally learned from some Blu-ray special features how they did it.
The way it works is there's a string. The string sets the mechanism that pops the second half of the arrow up off his back.
People are so smart when it comes to making kills. Ronnie finds out about the little kids who got killed camping, so he calls the cops, and they send over the same dude as before, only with a much faker mustache this time. I guess the actor got another role and shaved before doing some reshoots they needed. That happens all the time, trust me, I know. But couldn't they have at least gotten the right color for his fake stash? While the counselors scramble back to their cabins, Paul waits at the waterfront for Angela, who shows up and suggests that they go skinny dipping. As they derobe, Officer Fake Stash finds Ricky, badly beaten but still alive, while some other counselors find Meg, who, you know, is not still alive. That nearly shocks the mustache right off of Officer Frank's face. Ronnie and another counselor hear some humming and head down to the waterfront, where they find Angela sitting naked with her back to them, cradling Paul's head in her lap. And this is when we get the big reveal. A flashback shows Aunt Martha, who, oh yeah, was in this movie, excited to welcome a new member to her family. She's taking in the surviving child from the boat accident in the beginning, but although Martha calls the child Angela because she's always wanted a daughter, it turns out it was the son who survived the accident.
I know you're going to like that name. Won't you, Peter?
With that, everything falls into place, including Paul's severed head, because he's been decapitated by Angela. Yo, beaches at summer camps are apparently a great place to lose your head. As for Angela, who's been the killer this whole time, the big infamous ending here reveals that she was born as Peter, but raised by Martha as Angela. Again, just so you're clear, in that boat accident we saw, the real Angela Baker died, and the surviving child, her brother Peter Baker, was raised as the new Angela Baker by his Aunt Martha. Obviously, this ending is all kinds kinds of loaded in retrospect. And since I'm not by any means qualified to comment on it, I suggest you check out the podcast episode we did on transgender representation in horror to hear some interesting thoughts about this ending and the character of Angela Baker. I can comment about the effects here though. The filmmakers briefly entertained the idea of having Felissa Rose wear a strap-on. But her mom wasn't about to let that fly.
Felissa was never going to be allowed to strap that on.
Instead, they ended up making a mold of her face and creating a thin mask made of dental acrylic with glass eyeballs. An unknown male actor wore the mask as he stood there nude. And unfortunately, it sounds like when the time came, he really didn't want to do it.
So this guy sat down and started to have a few beers. And by the time it was time to shoot,
he was crying horribly. Yeah, it was really just, it was bizarre. And it was freezing because we were by the water.
To be nude and to wear the mask of a little girl has to be strange.
Oh man, I hate hearing that. I hope that dude's okay and is living with the anonymity he desires.
He's never come out publicly, but never to be seen or heard from again.
Now, clearly, this big twist ending is played for shock value here. But to me, the scariest part of this whole thing is the intense music playing over Angela's intense face, which is then turned an intense photo-negative looking green as the credits begin to roll. What an ending. How many people did Angela Baker arrow whack at summer camp? Let's find out and get to the numbers.
Nice. Yeah, plus I can understand the mom. Like, if that was my daughter, yeah, I wouldn't want her wearing that either. Like, I know it's not gonna hurt her, but I don't know. Yeah, like if it was me, like I would not do that. Like, I would have been like, hold up. What? You're saying my daughter needs to wear that? Nah. Again, Clarissa Rose, man, she sounds like an incredible woman, man. I wish I could meet her, man. She sounds like she would be awesome to hang out with. Yeah, and that twist ending, man. Like, when I first saw it, man, my jaw hit the floor. I was like, what? It's like, holy crap, yo. And this is back from the 80s, man. And, you know, like back at this time, transgender and, you know, and being gay, like you wouldn't see that in movies back at this time. And even way before, especially way before the movie came out, you wouldn't see this type of thing, you know. You rarely would. Or people would just, you know, ignore it. That's crazy. So, wait, does that mean that Angela is actually she is the first transgender villain? Because so, I'm okay with that. That's awesome.
12 people died in Sleepaway Camp, and the victims' ages were all over the place. We ended up with 9 male victims and 3 female victims, giving us a 3-to-1 ratio of dudes. And with a runtime of 85 minutes, that left us with a kill on average just over every 7 minutes. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to Judy. It's absolutely horrendous, but I like that it's left to the imagination. You gotta respect a kill that manages to be this memorable despite not being on screen at all. Dull Machete for lamest kill will go to the 4 campers hacked up in their sleeping bags, since even writer-director Robert Hiltzik has said that those deaths don't make a lot of sense.
If I have one regret in the film, it's the scene with the little kids. If I had the chance to do it again, I would probably do something different. It's the one part of the film that I'm kind of uncomfortable with.
And that's it. Sleepaway Camp came out in 1983 and is a movie I can watch multiple times a year without ever getting bored of it. I'm less keen on the sequels, which we'll start to look at next week. But until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been The Kill Count.
At one time in a little bubble, we filmed this little horror movie together, and it was like one of the best moments of my life. I mean, they gave me life. I know it's like this little cheesy horror movie, but it was like, you know, it was my little dream that came true, and it afforded me a lot of things in life.
Wow, another reason to like her. She's so humble, down to earth, and so grateful. That's awesome, man. Uh, yeah, Sleepaway Camp, man. Like, it's a movie that like I don't think any other movie has like done what this movie did. You know. Uh, of course, at first people thought, oh, it's gonna be just another like rip off of Friday the 13th slasher, but nope, it's something different. And I do love that they actually tried to they didn't try to give you any hints of who the killer is. I mean, nowadays, a movie like this, like, yeah, they throw in hints of like, oh, who the serial killer is, like, or they would just like obviously just like tell you like, oh, it's that person. But in this one, like, if it's your first time watching it, like me, like I had no idea it would have been Angela. I thought it would have been uh like one of the camp counselors, or maybe that Mel guy. That's what I was thinking. Uh, I did not think I did not expect for it to be Angela because she was quiet, shy, and of course they didn't do that whole camera thing where it stays on the person and they give like a creepy look at the camera. And they play that eerie, scary music as it zooms in or out, whatever. I'm glad they didn't do that. They just pretty much like left up to you, like, oh, it's like you guess who the killer is. Uh, which, yeah, like I said, a movie nowadays like that's like, oh, like who's the killer? They would just make it obvious or just tell you. Uh, yeah, that's what I really really like about it is that they didn't like throw it in your face, like, oh, the killer is this person. That they did a really good job keeping it a mystery. Until the end of the movie. Yeah. That's it. It's my reaction to Sleepaway Camp 1983 Kill Count by Dead Meat. This was really a good movie. I could not recommend it enough. This movie and Jaws and Scream and all these other great horror movies. Carrie. Yeah, that's it. And everyone, take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you in the next one.